There is a letter on Peggy's hall table, and she has read it 4 times since Tuesday. 30 years she spent in a school office. She could read a form standing up in a corridor with a bell going. This one has beaten her. It isn't long. It is 1 page, and somewhere in the middle, it stops telling her anything and starts asking. Now, I promised you the thing in your hallway that everybody calls safety. It's coming, and it's earned its place. But this landed on Peggy's table on Tuesday and jumped the whole queue because she rang me about it twice in one evening. Peggy is 78. She has never rung anybody twice about anything. So, the pact first, and today it matters more than usual. I am not going to tell you to have anything or to skip anything. Not once. That belongs to you and your doctor, and nobody at this table knows your history. What we're doing is the 10 minutes, how to walk in, what to bring, and how to come out with something in your hand. 6 of them. Count along. Number 1 is the letter itself. Peggy read it 4 times looking for the instruction, the line that says, "Come on Tuesday, bring your card." It isn't there. Halfway down, the letter changes its mind about what it is. It stops announcing and starts inviting. "You may wish to discuss," it says. Sound familiar? Put plainly, for most of our lives, the post tells us things. A date, a time, a door number. Then somewhere along the way, it starts asking instead, and the asking is dressed in the same envelope as the telling. Nobody rings to explain the difference. The paper is the same weight, the print is the same size, and the tea goes cold while you look for a sentence that was never written. So the first thing is small. Read it out loud, once, to the room. Out loud, you hear which sentences ask you something. They change shape in your mouth. Peggy did it standing in her hallway, felt daft, and found 2 questions she'd read past 4 times in silence. And the next one is the sentence that comes after those questions, in a voice you know well. Number 2 is 4 words said kindly in a small, warm room. "We can, if you want." Peggy has heard that sentence twice this year. She says it lands like being handed the wheel of a car you are already sitting in. And you smile, and you say you'll think about it, and you get your coat. That sentence is not a doctor dodging. It is what the guidance itself starts to say once the sums stop being the same for everybody. And I'll say plainly that what those sums are is not my business or yours to settle in a kitchen. But here's the bit that hurts. It arrives with no warning, and it sounds like a shrug when it's actually a door being held open. Miss it, and everything after unravels from that one dropped stitch. So the mend is 1 honest sentence back, and it is not clever. I don't know how to weigh that. Help me weigh it. That's all. Peggy says it out loud in the car park now before she goes in, like a woman rehearsing a hymn. It buys her the part of the conversation that used to happen after she'd left. And speaking of leaving, the next one is over before you've taken your coat off. Number 3, the appointment is shorter than the wait for it. 22 minutes in a plastic chair, 10 minutes in the room, and 2 of those go on the computer waking up. Peggy has counted. Of course Peggy has counted. She ran an office. Recognize that arithmetic? 10 minutes is not unkind, it's just short, and short favors whoever came ready. The doctor has your file open and one thing on her mind. You have a fortnight of thinking, a letter you've read 4 times, and a knot in your stomach. Whoever brought a list wins the 10 minutes, and it is nearly always the person who wrote it down at the kitchen table the night before. So, 3 questions on 1 card, biggest first, not 5, 3. Fetch a pen now and write them with me. What would you do if I were your mother? What happens if we leave it? When would we look again? Peggy keeps hers in the sleeve of her bus pass. Now, the next one happens on the way home, and by then, it's already too late. Number 4 is the blur. She comes out, she's fine, she remembers everything, and by the bus stop there are 3 sentences left, and by her own gate there is 1, and it isn't the important one. Nothing was forgotten in the room. It went afterwards, in the cold, holding a bag. Alma from number 9 has an answer for this, and she is 91, so she gets to be smug about it. She goes in with her great-nephew, who sits, says nothing, and writes. "I'm not deaf," Alma tells him every single time. "You're not deaf," he agrees, and keeps writing. She has never once looked at those notes afterwards. She says that isn't the point, and she's right. She remembers everything because somebody was writing it down. So write the answer, not the question, while you're still in the chair. 4 words are plenty. Or bring ears, a daughter, a neighbor, the girl from the bakery who owes you nothing and will come anyway. Nobody has ever been thought less of for that. Now, where do you keep everything you take? Number 5 is a shelf. Peggy's is above the sink. 2 boxes from the doctor, drops for her eyes, the thing for her joints that her daughter swears by, and a tub of something with a Latin name that came from a magazine in 2019. Asked what she takes, she says, nothing much, really. She is not lying. She genuinely cannot see it as a list. It's the pantry problem. Everything you use lives at the front. Everything else has been pushed to the back over years. And when somebody asks what's in there, you honestly describe the front row. The shelf above the sink works exactly the same way, and it grows without anybody deciding anything. A box here, a jar there, a Christmas present that seemed thoughtful. The mend takes 10 seconds and no thinking at all. Photograph the shelf. Everything on it in one picture on the phone that's in your bag anyway. Then, when somebody asks, you hand them the phone instead of your memory. Peggy did it, looked at the picture, and said, "Good grief," which is the entire point. And she said it before anybody else had to. Number 6 is the question nobody asks, and it is 5 words. What happens if we don't? Not as a challenge, as arithmetic. Peggy had never asked it in her life. Neither had I, and I've sat in that chair more times than I'll admit at this table. Because until somebody says it out loud, the choice isn't really a choice. It's a yes with a polite pause in front of it. The answer might be nothing much, or it might be something worth knowing, and I'm not going to guess at which, because it isn't mine to guess, and it is different for every person in that chair. But the sentence turns a thing being done to you into a thing you're deciding, and that changes how the rest of the 10 minutes sounds. So ask it plainly, and then be quiet, which is the hard half. Let the room have the pause. Peggy asked it in June, got an answer that took a full minute, and rang me that evening to repeat it word for word. She'd written it on the card, in the chair, in biro that skipped. Some things you keep because of what they cost you to get. The letter came off the hall table in the end. Not because it was solved, but because it had been answered. Peggy went, asked, wrote, came home with 4 words on a card and a date to look again. That's it. That's the whole of what changed. Right, walk me through one appointment with all 6 in it. The letter gets read out loud in the hall so you know which bits ask. 3 questions go on a card at the kitchen table, biggest first. The card goes in your coat, not your memory. Somebody comes with you, or the answer gets written in the chair. The shelf goes in a photograph, and the 5 words get asked before you agree to anything. 3 of those 6 I'd never have thought of on my own, and one of them I'd been getting wrong since my 40s. A month on, Peggy has a second card going for the next one, which I think is showing off. As for the cat, she is the only member of that household who attends appointments entirely against her will, is carried there in a box, and still makes her position known in the car park. Nobody has ever had to guess what she thinks about any of it. Here's the bit I had wrong for years, and I'll own it. I thought going to the doctor was something you turn up for, like a bus. It turns out it's a conversation, and conversations go better when one side isn't holding a knot in her stomach and a letter she's read 4 times. Nothing about that needs courage. It needs a pen. And now the serious minute, which today is more serious than usual. I have not told you to have any test, and I have not told you to skip one. I wouldn't, and I won't. That decision belongs to you and the person with your file open, who knows things about you that I never will. Everything we talked about was the paperwork of the thing, the letter, the card, the pen, the photograph. The medicine stays in the room where it belongs. So, 6 among friends. Tell me in the comments which one you'd have brought to your last appointment, and be honest because my own tally is in there too. Somebody has probably come to mind by now, the one who says, "Oh, they know best," or the one with an envelope propped behind her clock since Tuesday. Send it to her. Next time, finally, the thing in your hallway that everybody calls safety and which has been quietly making one job harder every year since it went in.